Hey all, my name is Toes and I'm back playing some more Planet Zoo, and we are back in Tiguidou Zoo, and weirdly there's a chicken. There's a chicken. There's a chicken stuck inside my penguin habitat, and I don't know why, and there's nothing I can do about it, but it's okay. It's all going to be okay. That can only mean one thing. I have been playing around with the new backyard animals DLC that's just arrived, and there's going to be some stuff going on over there. But you'll notice weirdly, this is following on from the gift shop episode that we did in the last one. But yeah, there's some big screens, and I'll be honest, it's because I didn't know this was coming. I didn't know this DLC was coming. It's a complete surprise. I hadn't prepared for it. What I was doing was charging ahead with a bunch of other changes, but I didn't want to spoil those, so I thought I'd stop that, jump on this DLC, screen all these things off so there's no spoilers happening. So we are going to be working in this area today. So this is basically where my new petting zoo / farmyard / kind of woodland walk is going to all happen. I'll start here. And as you can see, it's a reasonably small space because Tiguidou is all pretty small, but I think it's going to probably spread a little bit more into these other areas. One thing to note, obviously, if you saw the previous episode where we put the restaurant in here, so as part of Penguin Point there's this restaurant. That restaurant is using those tables are from a hidden underground restaurant, which is about there. So yeah, I've got to try and accommodate that in somehow. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. Let's jump into the speed build and we can crack right on. See you there. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to use the build set that I created for the cabins, for one of the log cabins, and I want to repurpose this for a stable building. So my kind of picture in my head was a bit like a yard for a farm, so a farmyard, with several barns, and then a few pens and things for it. So I created this little set, this plank set, or it's actually, I think it's the slat set a while ago, and I wanted to reuse that. So just starting off by creating some little stable doors and things for this. So yeah, think about the stable, sort of traditional stable doors that are like half and half. So you see me just kind of reusing the slats here, copy them down, trying to break up the pattern a little bit there. So as you can see, if you look to the right and to the left, obviously they're a bit gappy, and colours are all different, and then the patterns are slightly different to them as well. So I've just kind of created the initial pieces for that, putting a little bit of framing around it, so using some of these thinner timber pieces, and then it's a fairly sort of modern looking barn stable block, as it were. So it's not got to sort of get a weathered look to it. So just see me putting mud pillars in there so that I can get it to kind of hinge. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that that's become a bit of an obsessive a bit of an obsession of mine, to create doors that actually can pivot and function like that. As I said, so it's a fairly modern building, but it's got a bit of a sort of wink to older, more traditional stable blocks. So just matching the colours in here, I always think that helps really, just to make sure that you've got a fairly sort of seamless transition of colours going on. And then obviously you can see, once I've sort of opened the doors, I can notice that there's a few little bits and pieces to tidy up. And then it was just an experiment of how do I want these pieces to combine? Because obviously now I've created this new stable piece, I can use the pieces that I had previously, so the wall pieces and the various different roof bits and stuff that I'd created in this kit, to just build myself a little kind of repeatable stable block. Roof goes on, side walls go on. If you think about what a stables looks like, so it's really just like a series of little small rooms, and I'm going to end up with probably the donkey and the horse in here. The horse doesn't get the horses that we've got in the game at the moment are not counted as a an appropriate animal for an animal encounter, but I kind of wanted to make sure I included it in here. So it needs to be separated away from the guests so that they won't panic that they're in close proximity to it, but through something like a stable door. So like I can have the horse on the inside of the stable block looking out through that kind of half open stable door, and then there's no kind of danger for them. The donkey is okay to have kind of wandering around with the guests, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I would like want my kids wandering around with a donkey, but who knows? Not that I've got kids. So yeah, I thought that was sort of appropriate again. And then this is my first opportunity. This is my first opportunity to hide away the entrance to the restaurant that I referred to. So part of this block is going to be closed. See, that door is now closed. So that allows me to kind of hide away that guest path. And then I created my own wall set. I think a lot of people did this, looked at the screenshots from the Barnyard animal pack at what looked like a dry stone wall piece and were like, oh yeah, amazing, and then realised it was actually someone from Frontier that had created that, and it was just a blueprint piece. So I kind of ended up creating my own, but to be honest, the one that Frontier created is so much better. Whoever that was at Frontier, credit to them, because it was so much better than mine that I might just actually replace all these stone walls with that, or these rock piece walls. So put a bit of shrubbery in, and obviously, as I said, that's all now hiding away the entrance to that restaurant. So a bit of shrubbery along the riverbank now, and then using, obviously, because I've got this transition from the wood chip to the gate, and the gate is narrower, I kind of wanted to hide this away with these like pebble pieces. This, if you saw from the screenshot, that bit is where the entrance sign and stuff goes in. Moving on to the chicken coop now. So it's really funny, actually, you can see how many chicken coops have been added to the workshop. I will be adding this one to the workshop. I ended up creating a couple. Before the DLC released, I created one that was just a sort of, isn't functional, basically. But then this one I created is pretty functional. There's some really good ones on the workshop already. A couple of people have already done them. Adam Up did one as well, which is great. So I thought I'd add my own to it. And this mine actually allows you to the chicken to get inside. So you can see a really fairly basic little cage set there, and then thought it'd be nice to have a little structure attached to it, like you see with chickens. Obviously, the chicken coops are like a combination of where the chicken hangs out and is protected, but also where they lay their eggs and things. Because I think there's something about like being raised off the ground is a chickens probably won't lay their eggs on the ground. So yeah, having them kind of raised off the floor is a good thing. Giving them a little ramp to get up there. Again, just messing around with making sure some of the patterns and the colours are a bit more mixed up in this. Get chicken in there, so I knew the cockerel was going to be the biggest one. Obviously, I've got the DLC by the time I'm at this stage of the build, so I can have a little look. Funnily enough, weirdly, when I put this structure in different places in the habitat, it was a problem. So if you're someone who is watching this video who's also picked it up on the workshop, try just moving it around inside the habitat, and you might see that for some reason the navigatable terrain with inside will change. So yeah, just sort of separating it off from. I hadn't really got a picture in my head yet, actually, what this little building that was going to be alongside it, or the little box section that was going to be alongside it, was going to be like. So created these kind of little shingle pieces, or used a little sort of shingle pieces, and originally was like, maybe it's like a shingle walled thing, and then decided maybe a pitch roof would be better. Actually not something I've ever done before. One of those things that would be a bit crazy to create a whole building with a shingle roof like this, probably a bit crazy on the piece count, but for something like a small little structure like this, it actually works out quite well. So what the trick with all of these sorts of things is give yourself a fairly repeatable pattern that you can use for a rotation. So you see I've created one corner here. I've got to hide that edge away now because we can't get pieces that come to a point that would work. So create these kind of edging pieces, and then this will give me one corner that I can then rotate, which is what I'm doing now. Take that section off, cut half of the tiles out that I don't need, and then smush it all back together. And there's a few overlaps and things, but not actually too bad. As long as you make sure the Z fighting is killed, then you're okay with that. And then that's given me kind of two sides of it. As you can see, the bottom half of it is still all shingles, that just gets replaced in a minute. So you take that out. Decide to go for like just a sort of a slatted side with the sort of featherboard look to it. Again, and as usual, as is my way, I went through several different iterations of this. So this first one didn't have like a window. So actually it was quite interesting because when I first created this and I put it all together, I was like, oh, okay, cool, it works. And the chicken goes inside. But then from the guest point of view, you don't really notice that the chicken's inside. So I thought, well, I'll create a little window. Sometimes you see little windows on these. I did look at some reference pictures. So yeah, just sort of mix the colours up again. I've created that featherboard side. Again, I've only created one side then, so I can copy it around, putting the legs on using these twilight pieces. Actually really cool to see how well together all of the wooden pieces, like if you think about all the different sets of wood pieces that we've had over the period of the game's life and how well they all work together. I mean, that's probably 2 or 3 different DLCs worth of wood pieces being used in this. Adding a little egg box kind of collection bit on the side. Some of the guys that have done these coops on the workshops have done a really good job of making it probably bigger than I have, so I've allowed this sort of that little kind of collection box maybe to actually be a bit more a bit more realistic looking than that one. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with mine. Putting a door on, so a little implied. Obviously, there's a door that the keepers would let these chickens in and out using, and then we'll have to admit, I saw in the workshop someone that had already created a coop had used that piece to make steps, which I thought was so much better than mine. So I nicked that idea. And actually that one had a window as well, which was actually just coincidence. I'd already decided I was going to put a window on it. I think mine is slightly different. I don't think theirs is pitched roof. I think theirs is just squared roof. But I will make sure I put these up on the workshop and the one that's just implied one on the workshop as well, because they're really cool. And it's actually like, I don't know how well, it'd be interesting to see how well received this DLC is, because I think when a lot of people, I think it's one of those kind of Marmite kind of DLCs. You either love it or hate it. I've always been a fan. I've always been a fan, to be honest, of smaller animals, because I like building habitats that are cosy, and Tiguidou in particular is really limited space, so I can't. And it's also like, it's not really appropriate to have tigers and elephants and lions and all that sort of stuff in the type of zoo that this is. So actually, whenever there's little animals, it always works really well. Just hiding the glass away inside there. If you just saw me created a second wall, why I did that was to sort of double up the wall so you couldn't see the glass inside. Eventually decided I actually wanted this to be a pitched roof at the top, so carried on the tiles or carried on these shingles, took that bit that's the sort of flat roof away. I don't think you actually see me do that, but took that flat roof away and then just spread the tiles up, and actually looks way better once it's fully pitched. And there it is. So created a couple of these. I've got one that's got like an open door, and then one that's not. You see me, I've put the path in now. So the way these work, if you've missed my animal encounters video, you just need a path, and as long as you've kind of met the criteria that the game wants, like, guests will leave the path and wander around, which opens up a whole bunch of potential ideas for future episodes that stay tuned for. So you probably just caught a glimpse. You probably just caught a glimpse of both the donkey. In fact, you can see the donkey in the background there, and the horse is in this box that I'm working around at the moment. I did originally have the windmill, and whatever the other piece was. There's another piece that I can't remember, but I just sort of decided it was a little bit too over themed for me. It's the danger with some of these pieces. Sometimes the theming just gets a little bit twee, and it's just not really to my taste. They're really lovely models and stuff, but just not particularly to my taste. I think particularly the windmill just feels a little bit too much, so I put it in and then took it out. And then like one of the cool things that's like good about these, the way that these what are they called, encounters work, is that you can have habitats kind of like next to them, so the guests will overlook into that habitat as well from inside the encounter or inside the kind of walkthrough habitat. So that's what I've done. I've created a couple of like pens for I think you'll see me do more of this in a minute. That was me creating a pen for some pigs. So I decided to create my own little pig trough because we didn't get one in the game. And I think this is supposed to be a planter, this like half barrel thing, but actually I felt worked quite well for a trough for the animals. I think I saw maybe Delay Designer talking about how it would have been cool to get a new feeding trough for them. So yeah, but we're probably not going to get that anymore. But yeah, so I thought I'd just keep my own bunch of vegetables all squeezed into it. I think it turns out all right. And then when I first built this, so I've got, as you see, this little pen. When I built this little pen, didn't realise that the sheep can actually jump quite high. So had to do a sort of double up on that fence to make it higher. Pigs are fine, obviously, but then the sheep will just jump over the barrier. Used the new sort of picket fence thing at the back there just to break it off from the rest of the zoo. Adding some foliage and things in here. Obviously, these are like really small habitats. So I've kind of got to work out. I mean, I don't really have to because who really cares? But like, I kind of got to work out what the story is for like how these animals, like, do these animals just stay in there all the time? There's literally only 2 pigs and 2 sheep in there, I think, by the end, so it's not too bad, but there's nowhere for them to be housed at the moment, or not in this not by the end of this episode. I mean, I guess they could just be put back in the stable block. That would probably be all right. Maybe we'll just say that. Save me having to build anything else and using some of the space. I might end up doing that at some point anyway. So you've seen me doing a bunch of detailing now, adding some of the foliage and some of those hay bales. You can see on the ground I've done a bunch of decals. I've put down some of the benches and things, putting in some implied feeding buckets for these. Oh, in fact, I put the goats in as well. This little shed is supposed to be like a potting shed, but it's also hiding my keeper gate. The pump, not too bad. I don't mind the pump too much. You'll see me, I think I was trying to find a home for it, end up putting it in the middle. And then the last thing I did, which is something I quite liked, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep it, was this sort of like hanging decoration thing. It's a little bit like a maypole. If you've heard of a maypole before, it's kind of quite an English sort of traditional thing from I think it's like pagan origins or something. I don't know what the roots of maypoles are. But yeah, so this sort of like bunting hanging down. I mean, it all makes it all quite nice, but I didn't kind of realise when I did it that all the little bits of bunting animate, and so this is already quite piece heavy anyway because the stable blocks are quite piece heavy. So you can see once I've sort of copied this around a few times and I've put light bulbs on it, it looks really pretty and it turns out really nice, but it's a bit crazy on the old FPS, so we might have to remove it. I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, we're coming to the end of the speed build, guys. There will be a few cinematics and things, but you can see what this looks like in the night, and let me know in the comments what you think of it. So yeah, quite happy with the way this one turned out in the end. As I said, it's the first of, I think there's going to be more to this, but yeah, pretty pleased with how it turned out. It was a fairly quick turnaround for this episode and for this build. Usually I spend a lot longer on this. So yeah, have to work out what will be the next one. Will it be back to one of the several other things I've already got on the go, or yeah, one of the things behind the screens? I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll leave you with the last couple of seconds of cinematics. Do grab the Barnyard DLC if you haven't already, and I will catch you on the next one. Take it easy.